Okay, let's get into our first topic in our notebook. It's called order of operations. This is definitely something you've seen before, right? But we're still just we're gonna make sure that you're feeling comfortable with just kind of the basics of getting notes off the computer, trying out Elastic before we get into content that's really hard or really new. Okay, so our first topic is we talked a little bit about grouping symbols last week. So we're just gonna take a quick moment to just review it. Remember, we had 3 different grouping symbols, right? We had brackets. Those look like this. Those are like this little square, right? We had parentheses. They look like this. And then we had the fraction bar. And that looked like this, right? That was when there was something on top and something on the bottom. That was the fraction bar. So those were our 3 grouping symbols. And if you just remember a couple of things that we learned last week, one was we always do what's inside the grouping symbols first. So if I have something like this, I do what's inside first. So I would do this first. Oops. And the other thing I learned is that, if a number is right next to these grouping symbols, like a parentheses or brackets, that means multiplication, so that this is 10. Right, so what do I know so far? The facts I know so far is grouping symbols first, and when a number is right next to a grouping symbol, that means multiplication. Okay, and then just the other thing that we kind of touched on last week was if we have 2 different grouping symbols, like for example in this problem we have parentheses and a fraction bar, we deal with kind of like the inner ones first. So this fraction bar sort of puts this whole top of the fraction into one group, but within that group we're going to do this first. So in this case we would bring down 5 plus, and then this 6 minus 2 is 4, so I do that first. On the bottom, I can go ahead and simplify this, right? On the bottom, there's no like inner grouping symbol. I can just go ahead and do 7 minus 4, which is 3. And then this becomes 5 plus 4 is 9. This becomes 9 over 3. And remember, this fraction bar, this means division. Okay, so this is 9 divided by 3, and this equals 3. So here my answer is 3. Here my answer was 10. Okay, so just a quick review. What do I know? I know grouping symbols first. Whatever's inside the grouping symbols, that's what I do first. I know that when there's a number next to a grouping symbol like this, that means multiply. And I also know that when there's a number over a number, that this fraction bar means divide. Okay, so those are just sort of the things that we learned last week. You're just going to do some quick practice problems, just like you did last week. And so what you're going to do is you're going to write practice. Okay, and then as you get into Elastic and get into practice problems, you'll number the problems, right? So put the number of the problem you're doing and then work on your practice. Why? Because that way if you find out, oh, I got number 4 wrong, you don't have to go through and like search. You just find, oh, there's number 4, right? And you can go. So right now you're going to do 3 problems in Elastic, and you're just going to write them right here, like 1, 2, 3, and you'll number them. And then when we go to do our work, when we go to do our next round of notes, it'll be below the practice problems.